The Story of the Sunset. Mimei Ogawa. The three young girls were not from wealthy families. It was late spring, and the village was lively with the festivities of a grand festival. The three girls, walking together, made their way to the shrine to pay their respects. After playing for some time, they noticed that the sun was beginning to set, so they started down the main road toward their homes. As they walked, they saw an old man approaching from the direction of the shore. He carried a small stall on his back and made his way toward them. He resembled the old man who came to the village every year from somewhere unknown, showing mechanical trick performances during the warm months from spring to summer. The three girls exchanged glances and whispered among themselves, wondering if they should take a peek. "Grandfather, how much does it cost to see?" one of the girls asked. The old man set down his stall, chuckled, and said, Come and see. Just 1 cent. One by one, the girls stepped forward and peered into a small hole in the stall. What they saw inside was strange, terrifying, a sight beyond anything they had imagined. A noble princess, captured by slavers, was being taken away on a ship with great white sails. The vessel, guided by a monstrous-looking boatman, cut through the dark and stormy sea. It was a scene just like the old tales their grandparents had told them, tales of the human traffickers' ships that stole people away. When the vision finally faded, the three girls let out small, trembling sighs. "Oh, how frightening! How pitiful," they murmured. The old man watched them with a quiet smile and then spoke. "You are all good children." Hana smile, Kayat smile, and then Spuff. I shall give you something special. Write down whatever it is your heart desires on this paper, and when the sun sets, cast it into the sea beneath the evening glow. With that, he handed each girl a small red slip of paper. The three girls took the papers, clutching them carefully, and made their way home. The three girls each wrote down their wishes on the red slips of paper. One of them wrote, "Please grant me a beautiful comb and a fine ring." Another wrote, "Please give me an organ." The third girl, however, was different. She had sparse, curly hair and was known for her kind and gentle nature. Deeply affectionate by heart, she had not spent a single day without thinking of her late sister. If writing a wish on this red paper meant that the gods would hear it, then there was only one thing she desired. "Please, let me see my sister again." On an evening when the sunset blazed beautifully across the sky, the three girls made their way to the shore. The northern sea was a deep, vivid blue, and the red hues of the setting sun spilled over it like a stream of flowing blood, creating a beauty beyond words. Standing atop a rock, they gazed up at the sky, where clouds like tortoiseshell swirled overhead. Clutching their red papers, they wrapped them in small stones and cast them into the rolling waves. The papers sank into the vast ocean, vanishing from sight. That night, they returned home and went to sleep. The next morning, when they opened their eyes, they each found something miraculous at their bedside. By one girl's pillow lay a splendid comb and a shining, expensive ring. By another stood a grand and beautiful organ. And by the pillow of the girl with curly hair, there was a single red tropical flower. Perplexed, she carefully took the flower and planted it in the garden. Morning and evening, she watered it, kneeling before it in quiet contemplation. Then, one day, as she peered into its sunlit petals, her sister's face emerged, clear and radiant, as though shining from within the flower itself. The girl gasped, nearly crying out in astonishment and joy. From then on, whenever she missed her sister, she would come and gaze at the flower. The vision did not speak, but it remained unchanged, her beloved sister's face, just as she had always remembered it. Day after day, she sat before the flower, lost in its silent embrace. The other two girls went on with their lives, each enjoying the gift she had received. One adorned her hair with the beautiful comb and wore the fine ring on her finger. The other played the organ with its lovely tone, singing as she played. One day, the curly-haired girl met her friends. Seeing one girl wearing the dazzling comb and ring, and the other playing her organ with its sweet melody, she felt a quiet pang of envy in her heart. When she returned home, she stood alone before the flower and murmured in a small voice, "Ah, ah, I wish I too had a ring and an organ like theirs." At that moment, from out of nowhere, a white bird flew down. Without warning, it seized the tropical flower in its beak and soared away into the sky, disappearing beyond sight. The girl watched in horror. Then, overcome with sorrow, she collapsed to the ground and wept. "Oh, it was my fault. I envied what belonged to others. I have wronged the gods. What have I done?" She pressed her face to the earth and cried out in despair. But no matter how much she regretted it, there was nothing she could do. No matter how deeply she longed to see her sister again, the tropical flower was gone. Never again would she be able to stand before it and gaze upon the familiar, beloved face. Desperate, she wandered the shore each day, searching for another flower like the one she had lost. Desperate, she wandered the shore each day, searching for another flower like the one she had lost. The coastline was alive with blossoms, blue, white, violet, sky-colored. But nowhere could she find a flower like the red tropical bloom. Whenever she thought of her sister's face, she wept with longing. And so, the next day, and the day after that, she continued to walk along the shore, searching the meadows for a flower that would never be found. Many times, the sunset bathed the sky beyond the sea in its crimson glow before sinking beneath the horizon. The girl stood upon the rocky shore, watching it with tear-filled eyes. One day, she found herself once more upon the very rock from which she had once cast her red paper into the waves. Gazing out over the sea, she pressed her hands together in prayer and, with quiet reverence, spoke, "Please grant me the tropical flower once more. I was wrong to envy what belonged to others. Please forgive me." Just then, from beyond the setting sun, a white bird appeared once more. It soared toward her, and as it reached the space above her bowed head, it released something from its beak, another tropical flower, identical to the one she had lost. The girl gasped, overcome with joy, scarcely able to believe it was real. She reached out, trembling, and cradled the flower in her hands. It was exactly the same as the one she had once planted in her garden. Pressing her lips to its petals, she whispered her gratitude to the gods. But as she gazed at it, her joy turned to sorrow, for the flower had no roots. She mourned the gift, for without roots it could not grow, nor could it remain with her. Still, she resolved to treasure it, to protect it, and to keep it from ever withering. Carefully, she tucked it into her hair and, heartened, made her way home. Yet, before she even arrived, she realized the flower had already wilted. Overcome with grief, she clutched it tightly and sobbed aloud. Hearing her cries, those around her rushed to her side. But instead of asking about the flower, they gasped in astonishment. "Oh my! What has happened to you? Your hair? It has grown thick and long. And look, it's black, glossy, and beautiful." The girl, startled by their words, reached up and touched her head. Her once sparse, curly, reddish hair now flowed in thick, silky strands. Disbelieving, she ran to a mirror, and there, reflected back at her, was a face she barely recognized. Her once familiar features were the same, yet transformed, framed by long, lustrous black hair that shimmered in the light. She stood frozen in awe, and then, in an instant, all the sadness that had filled her heart melted away. A smile bloomed upon her lips. From that day on, the girl, already known for her gentle and kind heart, was cherished even more by the people of the village. They marveled at the mysterious beauty she had gained, and they loved her all the more for it.